McKenna posted up all the videos from the Marianist archives this morning. So if you didn't wake up 15 minutes early to catch those videos in the pre-play, you can pick them up in the Zoom chat and watch them when you're ready. Also, we did post up again the donation link during Matt's talk. So if you just scroll back up on your chat, you can see any of the anything that's been posted all day. But that donation's there, and as always, we want to echo Matt's humble request for supporting the work that we do all year long. We plant lots of seeds at the Assembly, but we know that the work happens all year long, and that it's MLC-NA and the volunteers on the leadership team that support that work all year long. So we encourage you, if you've been inspired this weekend, to consider a donation to MLC-NA. We also have a question. Will these links be sent in follow-ups to the Assembly participants? What I'll say about that is that we will use the regular MLC-NA channels of communication to circulate the links and materials that you've seen here. So I would say they'll be included in the regular newsletters. Those can get long for some of us that don't read a lot. Please scroll through and click on the links. That's where you'll find it. We cannot respond to individual requests from everyone because we get lots of them. So if you just stay tuned on the MLC-NA channels, both through social media and the regular newsletters, that's where we will continue to post the links and announcements that you've seen during the Assembly. And with that, we're right at time. So I'm going to introduce Brother Bernie. We're very, very excited. We've been working hard behind the scenes, both Matt and I and so many others, to coordinate the work of the SM, the FMI, and the lay branch. This is something that came strongly out of the last Assembly, and we're glad to see the connections that started then carrying over to now. So without further ado, Brother Bernie, we are both UD grads. I didn't know that prior to reading the bio, but he's kind of been around the Marianist world, as you can imagine. He has been the assistant for temporalities for the province when it was the Cincinnati province. He's handled a lot of the finances. He served as the senior vice president for administration at UD when I was there. Who knew? We didn't meet till years later. And then he went over to Hawaii and served in several roles, including the president at Chaminade University of Honolulu. And now, as you know, since August of 2018, he began his current service as Assistant Provincial for the Province of the United States of the Society of Mary. And in this role, he has particular responsibilities for the province efforts to ensure the safeguarding of children and young people, leading the formation and implementation of the province direction statements, and it's in that capacity that he's here. I will say personally that when Brother Bernie asked me to join the steering committee, we had a heart-to-heart talk, and I said, please don't invite me unless you really want a truth teller sitting in that seat. And to his credit, he said, I want you to join even more now. So with that, I will hand it over to Brother Bernie, and I will be sharing screen for his presentation.
Katie, thank you very much. It's sound coming through and video okay on your end? Great. Of course, my thanks for being invited. Abby, all the others on your team for all the work that you've done to make this assembly work virtually. It was a fine day yesterday. It was really very impressive. And McKenna is kind of the other half of my technical team with Katie. I told them I'd be happy to present, but since I never did this virtually before, and you know how it is, chewing gum and walking can be difficult, I thought doing my slides and trying to give a presentation could lead to disaster. So go to the next slide. When we can go slide, yes. Our leadership team began right after the general, our most recent general chapter It was held during the month of July. You know, we became the leadership team beginning August the 1st. And so a real charge that we felt in our mandate is implementations of our general chapter document centered around the idea that we are in mission with Marianist family, and only in the sense that we are in mission does it make sense. You even have that very striking sentence in there that we believe that unless we are in mission as family, we will cease to exist. So this couldn't be a stronger challenge that we have than positioning our role within the Marianist family. It also means that in this discussion and in the development of directional statements, very few of these things are under the direct control, as you want to call it that, of the province. If it's not a collaborative effort, it's not really in mission with the Marianist family. And so I want to recognize that sometimes the pronouns or whatever may slip in the talk, but we've tried to recognize it throughout. So next slide. And part of the mandate that we had as this team was we had to get it done in time because provincial administrations come and go every 5 years. There's the possibility of another 3-year renewal. So we were under a fairly tight timeline. We had roughly 16 months to get something to the provincial chapter of the province in March of 2020. Next slide, please. So as Katie already referenced, when this came up as the council, it was clear that unless the committee was representative of all the branches, it couldn't be an honest collaboration. And also there was a sense that it has to be forward-looking, and so there's going to have to be some of the younger members of the province that are represented among the committee. So as you look at them, see Ronaldo, you know, as part of the younger members, Jack Ventura and Violet, Tom Wendorf, and then Katie representing the lay branch. We had Nicole representing the sisters, and Tim Fallon, who many of you know, also you know, committed within the Marianist family as our facilitator. I think it was a wonderful group. You know, we had our occasional dust-ups and things looking like they're falling apart, but that never lasted more than one session. So I think, you know, we worked very well, and we each had a different kind of gift that we brought to it. Really the point of being in collaboration. So during the spring of 2019, we had a brainstorming process, 10 different areas where we had it. There were over 350 participants from all of the branches. I would have to admit this now, we originally had plans for a virtual meeting, and I think the area meetings in person were going so well, maybe it was a certain kind of laziness that we said, oh, we're not sure that we ever really can do this virtual well. I think this has demonstrated we could, and we really should have done that as part of our process. But I don't want to take anything away, though, from the value of the area meetings. Based on that brainstorming, we then had a summarization period during the summer with the steering committee. And we had proposed directional statements and priorities that we brought to, again, the same 10 areas, a similar number of participants, you know, for finalization. We did that over prior to Christmas and then made that available at the provincial chapter. There was some small changes made. I don't want to minimize the, you know, catching nuance that the chapter thought was important. You know, essentially our work was very well accepted. And I think one of the things that we felt best about was we were able to model the behavior that we wished to be reflective of the manner in which the province was in collaboration with the Marianist family. So our mandate was 3 to 5 directional statements. So, you know, as a good student or whatever you want to say, we had 4, and we tried to bring it to these 4. They'll be available, these materials will be available to you, so they'll maybe go a little faster, but this idea around the Marian face of the church, we put it number 1 because we feel that's, of course, our charism. It's to be a disciple as Mary was a disciple. And, you know, that needs to be reflective in the means in which we work, as well as in the choices we make: diversity, justice, responsiveness to the needs of the world. Yesterday's assembly was very affirming of each of those, and very striking to me, very encouraging, and of course very challenging. The second had to do about, you know, our other gift, and this reflects particularly our province. It's around accompaniment of young people. Not that it excludes others, but obviously there's such strong commitment in educational ministries and related programs like Pulse, that it's about accompaniment of youth. And that continues to be you know, a goal that we look to expand. Our third statement, and this very much as Matt was giving his report, you know, you could see same kind of call about supporting leadership and formation, and make our contribution, whatever that should be. This is clearly something that has to be defined by the North American Lay Marianist community, about strengthening and expanding its organizational capacity. But certainly we can play a role in such things as the formation of area councils. Jack Ventura, as you know, has been very active in that out of our Philadelphia Senate. And the fourth had to do with what I've been calling inviting, you know, that we wanted to be effective. We wanted to reflect the diversity of persons. I think that, again, the presentations we had yesterday from Dr. Espino, you know, emphasized just how important the Hispanic community is, for instance. And that was the content that we were getting here when we said that a diversity of persons that needs to characterize it. Now, the province as province also had 2 that I should say the provincial council said it has 2. This also affects the family, although these are ones that in a more direct way we have responsibility for. And the situation in which the province finds itself is we're having approximately 15 deaths a year, and we're having approximately 1 to 2 new professions. We will be shrinking our footprint. That means there'll be fewer communities. But we need to do that in a way that still sustains and advances our mission. And so you may feel that, well, that's going to be for the council to work out, but I do think a question for the other branches of the family is, which of our communities, which of our area representations are important? Understanding the commitment has already a high commitment to Honolulu, San Antonio, and to Dayton. But are there others that have special importance to the other branches of the Marianist family, and that should help guide our direction? The final one is, as you know, we have been, if you want, the founders of the Society of Marian India. joined now by the Marianist Sisters, and there's an active lay community. It's to the point, it's still maturing, but as it moves from the its current status as a district, it moved to greater self-sufficiency. Again, many in the Marianist family, Sister Laura was one of the teachers in the program. Others of you have assisted in the development of our newer Marianists there. So it's of importance, although the council, of course, has primary responsibility. So those are our 6 statements. Again, I think the first 4 especially are those that were prepared by the Direction Steering Committee, although have an importance and all have a participation by the Marianist family. Now, so we have statements, we have to move them into action. And so the next, so part of the point of why I'm so pleased to do this is we're trying to create a shared ownership. Again, in Matt and Margie's address to the General Assembly, you found many of these same themes. So it was affirming to me, not because that meant that they took our lead, but it meant that the Direction Statement Steering Committee had actually heard correctly about what the individual areas had as priorities. So I want to continue to try to do that to the extent that we have a little time here. I hope that we can have any questions or affirmations that way that we need to do. Now the second, and of course my bigger thing in the university administration is always when you have a broad plan, it's picking out, well, what are those things going to be that are the key levers of success? That if we can get these things going, it's going to bring along many other things in its wake, if we want to think of it that way. And so moving to action as that way of realizing the full meaning of what you couldn't even foresee necessarily when you had the direction statement. So I'm going to be bold here in the sense that I'm going to tell you what I think I heard as priorities, which means the things where I think are most likely to be able to be moved into action at the beginning. So again, really it's about effective and inclusive inviting to all branches. So we already, I already mentioned, I think this was very much touched upon the inclusivity. I do think there is that feeling that are we using the best practices, best means possible? In that sense, are our approaches effective? I also sense that this perhaps is a stronger push within the SM province. When we see that decrease in size, and we say, gee, we're working well in ministry. We have people enthusiastic, but we found the right way to invite persons to the be vowed Marianist brothers and priests. So that I think there's going to, there is a way it's a shared Marianist vocation, and yet I do think that you have to recognize there's probably distinctive task forces within this, because the nature of the commitment is a different commitment. Second, about the organizational structures, I think Matt's already addressed those. There are some things like the Philadelphia Center, NACMS, Marianist communities that are in the area, potentially Marianist area coordinators that can be assisting. But I think this is one where the members of the lay Marianist family of course, have to take the lead, and within that lead, we have we can make our contribution, and that this work is coordinated through the Marianist Family Council of North America, which has two leadership representatives from each of the three branches, using bound lay members as part of the Lay Marianist family. Again, I think responsive ministries to youth, some can be shared. Clearly, our office is sponsorship, and to look at what we're doing. Can we and can there be specific things within these commitments? And that kind of moves into the next about advancing justice. So racial justice, as we have economic justice, integral ecology. We can even think of it, integral ecology as meaning it includes those first two. So ideas spoken of have been things like expanding our Marianist Urban Student Program, expanding it either in the number of persons that are served or expanding it to other schools that have racially diverse student bodies and low-income families characterize them. But clearly there has to be how do we advance justice? In our current country and our situation just brings that so clearly. So if you want to know, as it were, what Bernie is thinking of and what he'll be saying to the council next week, we have our 3 days of planning meetings as a provincial council, and saying, well, I think our starting point should be around these priorities, understanding that number 2, we follow the lead, and the other 3, that there are places where we can take initiatives, but again, want people to know what we're doing while we're making the choices, how that can be coordinated. Having said all that, and again, I realized looking at the clock, there's only like 9 minutes if I have it right, and Ray Fitz was, after all, president, and I was on his team, but not the president. I can't be late for him. So I think the major thing is have I hit the right starting points? I would say, and the priorities. And if we only had time to discuss that one, I think that would maybe be the most helpful one, because that's where the action for the province this year is most likely to be focused. So let me stop there. And again, thanks very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with all of you this morning.
Thank you so much, Brother Bernie. Really helpful for us to see the work of the SM, to have participated in it. We heard a lot of feedback from the lay Marianists about how much they enjoyed being invited to hear about the SM challenges and participate in dialogue with all branches of the family. At this time, I will ask McKenna to open up the chat box, and we'll allow people to respond to these questions in the chat box. We are saving all of our chats. I don't even know how I know how to save now. I don't know where it goes, but we'll figure that out. And make sure that we get all that information to Brother Bernie. Also, Brother Bernie, if you are open to it, we might share your email, because some people are likely to have very detailed ideas that they would like to share with you. And I would also say with Margie, since she'll be in the president role of MLC-NA, and she sits on the Family Council, the United States Family Council with you. So those would be 2 good avenues if you want to have deeper dialogue. Jessica, I think you're on the call right now. Since I'm screen sharing, I can't see the chat. Actually, maybe I can switch to see the chat, but let me see.
So Katie, it definitely would be fine to share my SMUSA email.
Okay, great. So do we have any questions for Brother Bernie? Or great ideas? I will echo Matt's idea of fully funding our paid staff positions. I think that would be a way to get to scale very quickly on a number of our work initiatives, because we're really, the thing that we're looking at is we have a lot of volunteers. So that's something that we are going to have to look at, how we can increase the capacity of support for the volunteers. We're seeing affirmation that these themes are resonating. And certainly when we were at the international level, we saw similar systems being talked about and topics being talked about. We did get a question earlier today about family councils. And I know we have Brother Ray up next to kind of see what a family council looks like, but you did refer to that in your meeting. And you talked about Jack Ventura. So is that one of the places folks can go if they have questions about family councils, or are there other things you'd like to tell us?
So I'll speak first. Certainly, for the Jack and the and others in the Philadelphia Center. So Steve Ploeger in particular. The thing about it is, this has to clearly, there'll be a shared commitment that it has to fit the area. I think one of the things that, was found and reported to me, at least by Jack, is although the idea of the family council, there might be some shared high level, things that characterize them all. The nature of the people that are there, the age of the people, and and went through the different types that we have, even to the virtual. It can't, though, on the other hand, be a one size fits all. So that's I think that's part of the tension here, and that's why it has to kind of grow organically in each of the areas. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. We did, I will say, have some very healthy tension on the steering committee as we walked through this process. We had great moments with each other where we all had very deep dialogue and what I'll call radical candor. So that was really refreshing. And Brother Bernie really created a space where we could all talk to each other. There are things coming up about shared vocation. A couple of different things about kind of coordinating some of the work we're doing around vocation and asking how laity can be kind of more integrated in the process. Ideas about that, Brother Bernie?
Now, when you get to leadership, I think people, you all of a sudden become a jack of all trades. If Oscar were here, I think Oscar is the person to address it because he came up through the formation track. I try to be a close follower, but not an initiator on what makes for good recruiting.
Okay. Well, I think Brother Oscar is here. Maybe we'll unmute him next. But in the meantime, we did get a question. The Society of Mary sits on various boards of Marianist institutions throughout the country. Given the shrinking numbers of professed brothers, will lay people be asked to be a Marianist presence on boards of traditional Marianist institutions?
The short answer is yes. The bylaws already, even in a large institution like the University of Dayton, say either a professed Marianist religious, meaning FMI or SM, or also a Marianist form layperson designated as being such by the provincial council. They serve on board. So already you have a couple of cases of that in the secondary schools.
Okay, and I will make a plug for also that conversation to happen at the university level as well. Okay, let's see. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything here. Lots of thank yous. So people are really excited you're here. And let me just know that both Father Oscar and Brother Bernie, I think, have been literally at every hour of the conference all weekend long. So it's been really great to have you in the room, hearing what lay Marianists are talking about, passionate about, and most of all, have the talents and training to lead. So thank you so much for that. Father Oscar, we know you're out there. We didn't put you on the spot. Brother Bernie did. So would you like to say anything about how we might work together on vocations?
I think for us in the Marianist family, to work together is very important. That we recruit for one another and with one another for the future, because that's the only way we survive, is if we are together. The trick is going to be, how do we do that in a way that's healthy and appropriate for our world and our church today? What's a bigger concern for myself as provincial and as a former formation person for the province is the concern of people who are appropriately trained in formation ministry and the Marianist charism to be able to pass that along. So we as a province are having that conversation. And I say this with all due respect to our Marianist mentors in the Society of Mary, but we're all getting older. And so we need to designate the next generation of folks within the Society of Mary, and also to work with the MLC-NA to talk about, all right, how is it that we, the Society of Mary, support the training of lay folks to fulfill that role within the lay family. So it's going to be a joint partnership. I think we've worked together in the past, but we're going to have to work even closer together in the future as we continue to learn what this relationship is that we continue to, I think, model not only for the Marianist family, but for our church, how the Marianist family works together. And that's something I am looking forward to in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we are exactly at time, so we'll end on that note. I have popped up Brother Bernie Ploeger's email into the chat box, so if you would like to share ideas or have deeper dialogue, he has been a great thought partner with me personally, and so I highly encourage you to reach out to him. He is very willing and open to hear ideas and to put them through his rigorous analytical mind to see if they will actually produce fruit for all of us. So thank you so much, Brother Bernie, for joining us this morning. And I will turn it over to Abby.